Jeremiah Hales, Empower Physical Therapy. Today we are going to go through a pre-round stretching routine that I really like, that will help you get your body set up to play your best golf and also to maintain your flexibility and range of motion throughout your golf season, which, as we all know, is super important. As flexibility is the cornerstone of a good golf game, not only in helping you with good golf swing mechanics, but also keeping you injury-free and feeling good while you're playing golf with your friends. So the first stretch we're going to do today is called the sleeper stretch. And the sleeper stretch, it's actually a shoulder stretch, and it helps with shoulder internal rotation. And in golf, technically it's a throwing sport. You're throwing a club through a ball, and the dominant arm will always get tight from that overuse activity. So we want to specifically be looking at our dominant arm. So if you're a right-handed golfer, your dominant arm will be your right arm. So you're going to get lying your right side on the ground, and you're going to stick your right arm straight out from your body, bend your elbow to 90 degrees, and then you're going to take your opposite hand, or your left hand, you're going to place it on the back of your right wrist, and then you're going to gently push your hand down toward the ground. I like my clients to hold this for about a minute and just stay in this position. You shouldn't feel any sharp pain with this stretch. You should feel a pulling sensation on the back of your shoulder. So again, you're going to put your hand on the back of your wrist, then you're going to slowly push that hand down toward the ground. A lot of people will find different ways to cheat with this stretch. One of them is to roll backwards with their upper body. Another is to kind of lift their body, their head and their shoulder off of the ground. You want to keep your body rolled forward, and you want to keep your head and your shoulder kind of laying. Your head should be laying on top of that shoulder, and that shoulder should stay on the ground. So you're going to press it down just like this, and you'll let the weight of your head hold that shoulder down. Ideally, you should have 70 degrees of internal rotation with this stretch. That'll tell you that you have normal motion to help you swing the club better. Now, a lot of my players start out with this stretch and they're literally right here at their tight point. So if that's you, this will be a really important stretch for you to do to help you swing the club better and to have better, less shoulder pain. Of course, you're gonna do that on both sides. The next stretch is hook line rotation. And with hook line rotation, it's all about creating flexibility kind of throughout your body for turning your shoulders and opening up your thoracic spine. Your thoracic spine is right here in the center of your thorax. And what the thoracic spine does in the golf game is it rotates and it side bends. So super critical part of the body for having a nice consistent golf swing with a consistent spine angle and consistent shoulder plane and a really good shoulder turn. The other thing that I like about I call the hook line rotation stretch is that it opens up the hip, the musculature on the lateral hip, and your chest. And those are two really key areas. They get super tight walking the course and practicing and swinging the club. So this stretch has a lot of great benefits for you, and it's really easy to do. You just have to lay down on the ground again. Like the sleeper stretch, you're gonna lie on your right side, and you'll notice one side will be better than the other, or meaning one side will be more flexible than the other. You're gonna lie on your side in what I call the hook lying position. Now, if you're a flexible person like me, you'll take the top leg and you'll put it on the ground like this. If you're a little bit more of a tighter individual, you wanna stack your legs. So for the sake of this video, I'm gonna first show you the stacked leg version. You're gonna take that right arm that you're laying on, and you're gonna reach down, you're gonna grab your knees, and if you notice, I just put my hips into a 90-degree bend, and that's important because we're trying to lock that pelvis down. We're trying to not let that pelvis move a whole lot. We're gonna use that as a leverage point. So I'm gonna lock those knees down with my right arm, then I'm gonna take my left arm, and I'm just gonna open up, and I'm going to try to touch my left shoulder to the ground. Okay, you might get some cracks and pops in your back with this, and that's okay, as long as they're not painful. Cracks and pops should never be painful. If they are, talk to your doctor to see if you have something happening in your back that could be leading to some sort of back pathology. And you're gonna hold this stretch for at least a minute. While you're holding it, I want you to take some deep breaths. And those deep breaths are really important because they help to open up the spaces between your ribs, what we call the intercostal spaces, which is an area filled with muscle tissue. And that muscle tissue can get super tight So it's a great way to mobilize that tissue and really help to open up the range of motion in your rib cage. You'll also feel this in the top hip and in your pec. And some of the areas where my clients struggle with this is if you have a history of shoulder pain. Let's say I have a history of shoulder pain on my left side. I don't want to overreach. So if I have a history of shoulder pain, I might actually keep that hand on my opposite shoulder and really just try to reach with the shoulder blade, with that left shoulder blade. That'll help you if you're struggling with some shoulder pain. Again, I like my players to hold that for about a minute. And I didn't mention this on the sleeper stretch, but you can do 2 or 3 reps of each stretch depending on how much time you have before you go to the course or when you get home. The next stretch is a hip stretch, and we're going to do a couple versions of this hip stretch. The first one's a yoga pose, and it's called half pigeon. And with half pigeon, you're going to lie on the ground. You're going to be face down this time, and you're going to take your right leg, and with a right-handed golfer, your left hip is going to be a little bit tighter than your right, just so you know that. And I would like you to do these stretches on both sides. If you just notice, I grabbed my foot and I pulled it up a little bit. Now, I have a healthy hip joint. If you don't have a healthy hip joint, let's say you have some arthritis or maybe you've had hip replacement, I wouldn't really recommend pulling your foot up like that. So for those people that have a tight hip, just getting that leg across, or that foot across the midline of the body will be just enough. It'll be just enough stretch, and you don't have to worry about going any further with that. With people who don't have arthritis in their hip and are healthy, relatively flexible individuals, then definitely go ahead and grab that foot and bring it up a little bit. That'll lock that hip joint out and really help to create a deep stretch in the muscles around the joint. So you're gonna bring that foot up, palms on the ground, and if you're comfortable here and you're getting a nice stretch and it feels good, then stay. If you're someone that likes a little bit more of an intense stretch, or you're a very flexible person and want to go a little bit deeper, then you're just going to drop down on your elbows and hold that position. We're going to hold this for a minute, and again, deep breaths are really important to help release tension through the body and tension in the muscles of the posterior right hip. Version 2 of this is simply flipping over, and you're going to lie on your back. You're going to cross your right ankle over your left knee, and then what I like to do is reach my right arm through the space that's created between my right leg and my left leg, and then grab the front of that left shin, and then just lay back. When you lay back, you really feel the tension building on that outer side of the hip. And it's nice to do stretches in 2 different ways, because you really capitalize on stretching tissue in different positions, and that can help a lot improve it. It can help a lot in improving mobility. So again, you're going to hold that stretch for a minute, and you're going to do it on both sides. The next stretch is a hip internal rotation stretch, and internal rotation is massively important in the golf swing, especially in your non-dominant side. So I'm a right-handed golfer. My left hip will get tight for internal rotation, and actually really need that motion to be able to get my hips through the ball properly in that kinematic sequence and driving my body around in rotation. So if that left hip is tight, it's going to create a lot of difficulty in doing that. So this is a really important stretch. To do it properly, you're going to sit on the ground and you're going to position your legs like this. I call this a 90-90 position. I'm getting a 90-degree bend in my right knee. I'm getting a 90-degree bend between my right leg and my left thigh. And then I also have a 90-90 here at this knee. So it's sort of a 90-90-90 stretch. And then you're just going to lean back with both hands. And if you notice, my chest is square to the camera. So I'm really trying to square myself off. The wrong way to do this, I see a lot of guys do it, is they go like this. And that sort of unloads the hip that we're trying to stretch. We want to load it. We want to load it safely. So we're going to turn towards that side, square our chest off towards, whatever's in front of us. For me, it's the camera. And we're going to hold that for about a minute. If you're someone who's very flexible, you're going to actually take your hands off the ground and lean forward a little bit. And you'll feel tension building in that left hip, and that's okay as long as it's not sharp pain. So for me right now, what I feel is pressure and tension, but I do not feel any sharp pain at all. If I did, I'd want to back off of that a little bit and take some pressure off, and maybe reaching across is a good thing if I'm feeling pain. But if I'm not, and I'm getting that green light, then I'm going to reach back and stretch this way and then come forward. And if that feels good, I'll come here. And if that feels good, I might even add a little rotation into it while I'm stretching, just to create a little bit more disassociation and dynamic core control. Again, we're gonna do that both sides, holding for about a minute, and you can do 2 or 3 reps, depending on how much time you have. The next stretch is going to be a lat stretch, and lats are really important muscle group. They're huge. They start on your pelvis actually, and come up your back, wrap around your back, and actually insert on your upper arm. So it's a massive muscle, covers tons of joints, and it can be a really huge benefit to have mobility in your lats in the golf swing. And conversely, a massive problem if you don't have a lot of flexibility in your lats. It can create problems with getting into a good position at the top of your backswing, and creating power can be tough too. So, and it can also lead to some pain patterns for people struggling with back pain. So to stretch your lats, you're gonna grab a golf club, and if you have a chair at home, which most of us do, it works pretty well. Couch could work, bench at the gym. Right now I've got a plyo box, and I'm just gonna take a golf club. I'm gonna grasp it with my palms facing my head, and about maybe 6 or 7 inches apart. I'm gonna put my elbows on the box, and then I'm just gonna back away, and I'm gonna drop my head down between the space that my arms have created. And what that does for me is it creates a really nice stretch through my armpits and my shoulders and my upper back. So you can sort of see how my upper back is extending. A lot of golfers have rigidity in their upper T-spine, the thoracic spine, and it creates a lot of problems. So we're really trying to eliminate those issues. And this is another stretch we're gonna hold for a minute. When I just did that stretch, I really could feel it right here through the back of my armpit, right where that lat muscle is, and I could feel my back extended. It felt really good, and I hope you guys like that one too. The next stretch is a neck stretch, and I call it cervical stars. It's a really good TPI stretch I learned years ago, and I've probably modified it a little bit, but you're just gonna sit up straight or stand, and you're gonna turn your head all the way to the right. You're gonna try to take your chin, and your attempt with your mouth closed to touch your chin to your collarbone. So it looks like this. You're gonna turn right, drop down, chin to the collarbone. You should feel a nice stretch through here on the opposite side. You're gonna lift your chin up to horizontal, and then back to the center. Then we're gonna go left. I get a couple cracks in my neck when I do that. Then down, trying really hard to get to that collarbone. Then come back up, then come back to center. Then you're gonna go to the right. You're gonna look up. You're gonna look back to horizontal, back to midline, left, look up. Again, your mouth will be closed. Back to center, back to midline. Then you're gonna look up. You get a nice stretch to the front of the neck, and then back to center, and then we're gonna come down. Now, at any time, if you want to, you could add overpressure to a few of these positions. So, for example, coming to the right side, you can grab your head with your hand, and gently pull it down, and come back up, back to center, and then go the other way. I would not recommend turning and looking up and pulling that way. That would not feel good. But definitely with the motions where you're going down, it would add a nice little extra stretch to the back and sides of your neck. The next stretch is called the psoas stretch. And with the psoas stretch, you're going to be in a half kneeling. And I like to use a pad for this. You're in a half kneeling. You're going to grab your back foot. You're going to pull it towards your butt. And the idea with this stretch is I want to make sure that the knee you're kneeling on is behind the hip that you're stretching. So you can see in the video that my left knee is actually behind my left hip, and that's really important. You're gonna hold this stretch for about a minute. Again, deep breathing is really important. You can do both sides, and you can do 2 or 3 reps on each side. The next stretch is a hamstring stretch. So with the hamstring stretch, we're gonna do 2 versions. The first version is just going to be tucking your foot into your thigh, into the side of your thigh. You're gonna reach over your head, and then you're going with my left hand. So I've got my left leg out in front of me, and I take my left hand, I'm gonna reach down my shin towards my foot, and then I'm gonna take my right arm over my head and try to get that right arm horizontal. Now I'm pretty tight with this, and I'm getting a massive stretch through the side of my right rib cage, which is what I want you going for with this stretch. So if you look from the side, I'm reaching down my left leg, I'm taking my right arm up over the top,
I'm getting a big stretch on that right side of my thoracic spine, holding for about a minute. Again, I'm going for deep breath here, trying to open up these intercostals that we talked about before to really help with lateral side bending in the spine, which is going to help me get into better positions during my golf swing and stay healthy. The final stretch is another hamstring stretch, and this time we're going to go for a little hip internal rotation. So I'm going to take that left leg, I'm going to internally rotate, and you notice I've got my foot kind of off to the side, but my thighs are relatively parallel. So I'm not sticking that leg off like this, I'm keeping it real close in. And if my left hip is tight for internal rotation, that left hip is going to pitch me to the right. So you'll know right away if you're lacking internal rotation in that leg, because your posture will tell you. You'll be leaning off to the right and you'll feel like you're literally going to fall over. So if that's the case, put your right hand on the ground to support you, and then with your left hand, reach down that right leg. If you're like me and you've got pretty good flexibility in that left hip, you can take both hands and reach down toward your toe to get a nice stretch in that hamstring, but also to get some nice stretching into that left hip. And of course, you can do this on both sides and assess whether or not you can sit up straight. If you can't and you're being pushed off, then put that hand on the ground and support yourself in a relatively vertical position, then just reach down that leg and towards the toe. That's my pre-round, post-rounds golf stretching routine. I want you to try this, enjoy it, use it as a tool to help keep our ultimate golf tool in shape, which is our body. And if you have any questions, reach out to me. I'd love to help. Hope you enjoyed the video and have a great day.